about mosque mullah towers, if you like, where the mullahs sit in the top of the tower and they do their shouting. And I've been in so many countries, so that and the first travels was a little bit unusual when people always had this muezzin call in the morning in that. But if it's like a symbol of their national, social, religious, society identity, if something like this is destroyed. And so you saw videos there from ISIS with the black flags overrunning the whole Iraq and Syrian thing and directly destroying and bombing into the ground mosques as mullah towers. Then I felt and thought, well, how would someone from the Shia background in Iran and even in Iraq feel if something like this happens? How does someone feel who is fighting with ISIS for a non-suppression from the Baghdad government or from the Iraqi army and from the Shia militias or from the Shiites in Iraq itself? And if this is ongoingly done like it is there any way of returning the whole game to normal? And then if you know something about Islam, and I'm not a Muslim, but any Muslim will confirm my conclusion out of it, is this is hurting you in the heart. Any Islamic person will be hurt in the mark of his body if his holy places are bombed. And so Iran always has told and has said, if things like our holy places are attacked and bombed and destroyed, and ISIS always has directly targeted this. And Saudi Arabia, Wahhabism and Salafism is supporting this, and they're supporting the idea to crush away the things of the Shiites. They hate Iran. Saudi Arabia hates Iran. I've been to the Damascus Saudi Arabian embassy, and I don't have anything against Saudi Arabia, and so they very thankfully gave me something like a visa to travel and to transit Saudi Arabia, which I'm still thankful for. At that point of time, at the Hajj time, I've been a confessing Christian, and they knew that I'm Christian, so they still gave me the visa in 2010, excuse my stumbling, and so I could transit Saudi Arabia to go to Oman. I had a little problem then with my car, so I returned, and so I had some misunderstanding with the police, so it took a little bit longer in Saudi Arabia. But at the embassy in Damascus of Saudi Arabia, I saw the problems some Iranian guys had when they wanted to join the Hajj, and so they were a little bit treated from above and like low-class persons. So you see that at that point of time there didn't have been a war. It has been in the preparation mode, I guess. And so now I understand, when I was in Syria and I had 2 weeks traveling there, I was traveling in the east of Syria, why they always controlled me. Because at that point of time they already had planned, and they knew that the Sunnis and others and the Islamic guys, they had planned something like a revolution inside Syria at that point of time. And I always was wondering why the police has made such a rumor around my person, and it has been obvious that I'm a tourist. And if you like, you can use, if you check my name on my channel, you will see the different links to videos from Syria I've made at that point of time. And Syria has been such a beautiful country. At that point of time in 2010, I've seen some, I wouldn't say many, but really some countries, and Syria has been the jewel of Arabic culture from my viewpoint at that point of time. The same thing, I guess, even in Iraq before the Gulf War series of the Americans attacking them has started. And so I was very sad when this war has started, and for that reason I had my very big videos online when Hassan has been interviewed. A long talk, a short sentence, to not over use my video time here. It's hurting in the mark of a person if he sees his holy places being exploded. Imagine in Germany or America, if your church is the Baptist church in the Bible Belt, if it would be bombed and burned by Islamic people or by the atheists. Imagine progressive atheists using explosives to bomb every church in the American Bible Belt. How would you feel? I mean, normally Christians should be able to give away things they've built and created here on earth, and so they shouldn't worry about that at all. If they're focused on Christ, they will meet in the forest later on or in some houses, so they don't need the building. it's still, and if you're a fleshly Christian, the same thing, or a Christian who's not really loving Christ, who's not looking to Christ, you will be hurt by that. Same thing, and many, many other religions too. So the same thing with the Shiites in Iraq. And so to see this reported on Iranian television, and Muslims worldwide see this mosque imploding like the World Trade Center number 7, which has never been reported about, only on BBC by error, a little bit too early then, which has been imploded for whatever reason and not hit by the planes. Why the 9/11 truth movement wants to change this. But imagine mosques and these Muazzin towers falling in itself together by explosion, and then the shouting of the Allahu Akbar branch in the back. I mean, these guys really get emotionalized, and that's part of their we are putting our trust on the winning horse way of thinking. That's why they run over the Iraqi and the Syrian countryside. That's why they're so successful, because they are emotionally, religiously enraged. That's the spirit of renewed Islam, a different kind of spirit than the typical other Islamic spirits, but this is what I've always described in my videos. If the rage mode, the anger mode in Islam is switched on, if you push this button, then it's hardly to get it pulled offline. You cannot pull it offline anymore. So if now the Shiites are attacked in that way, it hurts in their heart. And so how would you react if something like the most important thing is killed in your life, is destroyed? Is there any way to then be reserved and rational? Islamic people, according to the Islamic faith, are not rational at all. Even the Shiites or the mystic ones are not so rational at all. And so in a heated up situation, polarized and already divided and deceptively manipulated, like Iraq has been because of the civil war, the bombing and everything. The same thing in Syria, civil war for 3 years. How could anyone expect that America can be successfully bombing from above and splitting the Sunnis back from the more radical Sunnis, or the Shiites to hold them back if this is ongoingly happening? And how could you expect Iran not to intervene there? And now John Kerry talking with Iran to possibly even hinder something like an Iranian invasion into Iraq, to protect the holy places of Shia faith, Shia Islam, if you like. This is divide and conquer without any return from my viewpoint. Divide and conquer as being realized in this case according to a so-called sectarian faith line between the Shiites and the Sunnis. Use the polarization in faith field, in the faith field. As from my viewpoint, religion is used to divide and to by that split and by that weaken and by that conquer whole regions and nations, and to create failed states or to have them installed, which is pretty much a reality of Iraq and Syria right now. So this is visible in things like on the debate emboldening terrorists from the 21st of September 2014 on Press TV News videos. You may also leave some abonnement there and share these videos, which is pretty important to have the debate running from the Iranian side. If we don't get the Iranian side at the moment, we will never discuss a good solution for Kurdistan. And right now, as I've discussed in the uploaded video, which is right now uploading according to Kurdistan, the Kurds want their own state. They see that the whole other thing will be failed. And also they see, second reason, they see, from my estimation, back conclusion, they see their time come now. If they don't do something like a Kurdish state now, when would they ever be able again to do so? If the whole Iraqi Syria dilemma is solved, they will never get a foot into the separation door again to get it open and to justify a real own state. And that's their dream for hundreds and hundreds of years. This pretty much looks like an ongoing civil war down there, and a non-healable wound. Or if you have something like how could Shiites ever come together again if Saudi Arabia is the one who's fighting a proxy war using ISIS against Iran inside Syria and inside Iraq? And that's what the Shiites know, and that's what they hate, and that's why there is this big split between the two branches of Islam. And from my viewpoint, for that reason, it's not very likely that we will have a unification again or some peaceful developments down there in the Middle East. And that's very, very tragic, because you cannot even, I mean, I can always try to discuss the crucial point where peace could be developed, but will it make sense? If you look to these pictures, if you watch these pictures and these videos about imploding mosques, that's like if the Vatican would be burned, or you would see Catholic churches in ashes, explosions worldwide, and then people, how would they feel, traditional Catholic people? How would people who love the Pope feel when their holy places are burned or are bombed or imploding? The same thing with the Shiites then in their places in Iraq. And the same thing, I guess, with the Sunnis down there in other places. And so that's very sad. That's very, very sad. It's very, very dangerous. Because this, as there are some songs singing it, this wound will never heal. This is a wound which is so deep, which is so intentionally done so deep, hurting so deep. Same thing with the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, killed down by the military and the help of the Saudis. So the Saudis once again do the very hurtful, deadly attack against their Muslim brothers. The Muslim Brotherhood and Qatar, again being the scapegoat, again being the sacrifice lamb. Qatar killed with the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and now try to convince them to bring them back. Just today we had the debate then, the people from the Egypt Sisi military government, that they wanted the Muslim Brothers to be in the political debate again after they've crushed down. That's exactly the path they have when they crush it down with brutal force, and later on, if it's dead, they try to pull those out of it to implement them and to totally marginalize the whole thing, instead of including it, instead of enabling it, instead of changing the way of Islam to a more open, conservative way. From the principle, you see the same thing now in Iraq and in Syria. Killing, and they always wanted to do this, killing and slaughtering against the Shiites, against the Assad people, against whomever, and even against the Kurds. This is also racist from my viewpoint, I guess. And on the other side, these people have decided to fight their fight. They got the weapons from the Americans, and I and many others have warned from the first day of the Syrian war that this will happen, because it has been very obvious that the weapons would have been ending in this way. And so we cannot make any claim that we want to help the Yazidis now, and we would know how to do it. So if Kurdistan now wants to have an own state, is Turkey allowing it? And if the Shiites will be set against the Sunnis, as they are, and the Sunnis will go on with their bombing thing, this is a very, very, very... From my viewpoint, I don't even see a concrete way how to approach this, because there is, from my viewpoint, there is no way to roll this back. No way to roll it back. And so that's the reason, even if the strategy is logical, and even if the Western world seems and pretends to be unified in the Catholic moment at the moment, and so the Catholic Church is in a way more uniting today than it has been many years before in Europe, according to the outer danger and according to power structures, according to the media. Also in a way negatively united and unified against Russia, or unified to the expand and cost of Russia, and now according to the cost of the jihadi Salafi movement. And I normally have always I've decided not to criticize the things there in the Salafi movement in using these anti-Islamic or Islamophobic wording. But as it gets more obvious that the things are radicalized and will be radicalized, also according to German preachers from the Salafi and Wahhabi background, like Pierre Vogel, I doubt that Saudi Arabia is not involved in all of this, and I doubt it is possible not to use clear, critical, harsh words. But the damage is, if you do so, the polarization thing will be as it has been, and so that's very, very, very bad.